The storm over Accra wasn't just rain, it felt like the sky was weeping. Inside Kwame Mensah's glass penthouse, the air tasted of expensive bourbon and loneliness. Kwame sat slumped in his designer chair, staring at a legal document, divorce papers. Adesua Mensah fears Kwame Mensah. His marriage was crumbling like termite-eaten wood. Nearby Zola, his soft-spoken housemaid from Johannesburg, mopped the marble floors. Her uniform hung loose on her thin frame. She sent every cedi she earned back to her mother in Soweto money for medicine, for hope. Kwame drank and drank. The bourbon burned, but not as much as Adesua's last words. You care more about your money than love. When thunder shook the windows, Kwame stumbled toward his bedroom, but grief and alcohol blurred his vision. He pushed open the wrong door, the tiny, windowless room where Zola slept. Inside, Zola wept silently, clutching a faded photo of her mother. She hadn't heard him enter. Please, Kwame slurred, grabbing her arm. Zola froze. Never shout. Never fight back. The rules pounded in her head like a drum. She shut her eyes as Kwame, lost in a whiskey fog, mistook her tears for his wife's. His hands were rough, his words broken. Zola became a ghost in her own skin, floating, numb, praying for dawn. When sunlight stabbed through the door crack, Kwame woke. His shirt was torn. Zola huddled in the corner, her cheek bruised, her eyes hollow. Reality struck Kwame like a slap. He hadn't just entered the wrong room, he'd shattered a soul. Panic clawed his throat. He shoved a thick envelope of cash into Zola's shaking hands. Forget this, Zola, for your family's sake. Silence. But as Zola fled down the servants' stairs, two chilling thoughts collided. 1. The money could save her mother's life. 2. Her body felt like a crime scene. Why did Zola really take the money? And what happens when Adi finds her husband's shirt torn and stained, with tears hidden in the trash? For weeks passed. The penthouse felt like a gilded cage. Kwame avoided Zola's eyes, tossing extra cash on the kitchen counter each Friday. For your mother, he'd mutter, fleeing to his office. Zola took the money every cedi, but her hands shook as she wired it to Her mother's weak voice on the phone was her only comfort. Intumbi Yam, my daughter, God blesses us. But Zola's body betrayed her. She missed her period. Morning nausea hit like a wave. Standing over the marble sink one dawn, she stared at her reflection, pale, haunted. A child growing inside her. Kwame's child. Panic tightened her chest. She pressed a hand to her belly. This wasn't just a secret anymore. It was a life. Across the penthouse, Adesua Mensah moved like a storm cloud. She'd returned to collect her designer gowns, her eyes sharp as broken glass. Kwame's guilt made him clumsy. He forgot to hide things. One rainy Tuesday, Adesua found it. Tucked under the white sofa cushion, a single pearl earring. Tiny, cheap, not hers. Her blood ran cold. Kwame had someone else. Rage burned in her throat. She pocketed the earring, her mind racing. Who does it belong to? The new intern. The yoga instructor. That night, Kwame came home late. Adesua stood silhouetted against the city lights, holding the earring like evidence. Explain this, she hissed. Kwame's face went grey. Not what you think. Who is she? Adesua stepped closer, her voice ablaze. Tell me, or I shred your reputation in court tomorrow. Just then, a crack echoed. Zola had dropped a porcelain vase in the hallway. She scrambled to pick up the shards, trembling. Adesua's eyes narrowed. She'd never truly seen the quiet maid before the too big uniform. The downcast eyes, the bruise fading on her cheekbone. Leave us, Zola, Kwame ordered, too sharply. As Zola hurried away, Adesua noticed two things. 1. The girl moved like her legs were made of glass. 2. She wore one cheap pearl earring. The next morning, horror arrived. A jet black envelope lay on the penthouse doorstep. No stamp, no name. Inside, a single line of cut-out magazine letters. The maid carries your shame. Kwame crumpled the note, sweat beading on his forehead. Someone new. Was it a servant? A rival? His hands shook as he burned the paper in the sink. But Zola saw the ashes. That afternoon, cleaning Kwame's study, she found a locked drawer slightly open. Inside lay a small silver locket. Her fingers trembled as she clicked it open. Inside was a faded photo of a young woman with Zola's own eyes, her grandmother, Thandi, who'd worked as a maid in this very city decades ago. Scratched on the back were 3 words. Beware the men who sent the blackmail note. Why did Zola's grandmother warn against the men? And what will Adesua do with her terrible suspicion? The locket burned in Zola's pocket like coal. Beware the men. Her grandmother Thandi's face in the photo, proud, unsmiling, haunted her. That night, Zola crept into the servants' quarters. Googling on a cracked phone, Thandi Endelovu plus Accra plus Mensa. Scraps of history surfaced. 1957, Thandi worked as a maid for Kofi, Mensa Kwame's father. 1960, she vanished from records after accusing Kofi of immoral acts. 1961, Kofi Mensa donated millions to rebuild a church. The same month, Thandi fled to South Africa. Zola's hands trembled. History was repeating itself. The near-fatal accident. 3 days later, Zola visited Makola Market to buy ginger tea for her nausea. Crowds pressed around stalls of colourful kente cloth and spicy curry. Suddenly, a black SUV with tinted windows revved its engine, aiming straight for her. Zola froze. Tires screeched. A vendor yanked her aside as the SUV grazed her hip, speeding away. But Zola saw 2 things. 1. The license plate. GC 1960. The year her grandmother disappeared. 2. A sticker on the bumper. Golden Stall Investments, Kwame's company. Terror tasted like copper in her mouth. Kwame wanted her to be silenced. Adesua's trap. Back at the penthouse, Adesua waited. Cold fury radiated from her. She'd found Zola's hidden pregnancy test under the sink. To pink lines, screaming the truth. Sit, Adesua commanded. Zola obeyed, knees weak. Adesua slid the test across the table. How much did he pay you to spread your legs? Zola flinched. It wasn't like that. Liar. Adesua slammed her palm down. I know his tricks, but you. She leaned closer, eyes glinting. You're just a gold-digging rat. Zola's voice cracked. He hurt me. Adesua laughed bitterly. And you took his money. Every week. She tossed bank receipts on the table, proof of Kwame's payments. You're no victim. You're his whore. Just then, Kwame walked in. He froze at the sight. His wife, the pregnancy test, Zola's tears. Adesua, let me explain. Explain this. She shoved the test at him. Your maid's carrying your bastard. Kwame paled. His eyes darted to Zola, not with guilt, but fear. Zola, did you tell anyone? Anyone at all? Zola thought of the black SUV and no. Good. Kwame grabbed her arm. Get rid of it. I'll pay triple. Adesua watched them, a snake-like smile curling her lips. Too late, Kwame. The whole city will know by tomorrow. The locket's secret. That night, Zola lay shaking in her room. Kwame's words echoed. Get rid of it. She touched her belly. This child was innocent. Then she remembered the locket, holding it under a lamp. She pried open the back panel. Thandive had hidden a tiny key taped there, scratched beside it. Floorboard under his desk. Truth waits. Heart pounding, Zola crept into Quame's study. Moonlight bled through the blinds as she lifted a loose floorboard beneath his mahogany desk. Inside lay a diary wrapped in leather. Thandive's handwriting. A photo of Thandi, heavily pregnant, glaring at Kofi Mensah. A letter. He forced himself on me. When I refused abortion, he fired me. But I kept his son. Zola's blood turned to ice. Thandive's child, Zola's father, was Kofi Mensah's son. Kwame was her uncle. Footsteps echoed outside the study. Zola shoved everything back, scrambling away just as Kwame entered. He didn't see her in the shadows. He went straight to the floorboard. When he found it empty, he let out a guttural roar, a sound of pure terror. "Zola," he bellowed. "Where is it?" She fled to her room, locking the door. Outside, Kwame pounded his fists like thunder. "Give me my father's secrets, or I'll bury you and that baby alive." What does Thandive's diary reveal about Kofi Mensah's crimes? Will Zola expose Quame's blood ties to her? And who really sent the black SUV, Kwame, or someone else? Kwame's fists thundered against Zola's door. "Open now, Owa, I'll burn this room down." Zola shoved Thandive's diary into her backpack. She yanked open the window, a 10-foot drop to the service alley below. No choice. She leaped, her ankle twisting as she hit concrete. Pain shot up her leg, but she ran into the rainy night. Quame's roars fading behind her. Adesia's revenge. By dawn, Accra was buzzing. Adesua had leaked the scandal online. Breaking business titan. Kwame Mensah impregnates maid. Photos, cash payments, plus Zola's bruised face. Hashtag House of Shadows. The post went viral. News vans swarmed Quame's office. Protesters gathered with signs. "Maids are not your toys. Justice for Zola." Kwame barricaded himself inside Golden Stool Investments. Watching his stock price crash, his secretary burst in. "Sir, the police are here. They want to question you about assault." His empire was crumbling. Zola's sanctuary. Zola hid in a cramped hostel in Jamestown, clutching her grandmother's diary. With trembling fingers, she read Thandive's final entry, unfinished, smeared with tears. "Kofi Mensah forced me, but his wife Adwa knew. She gave me poison tea, saying kill the bastard or starve. I fled that night, but the pain, it followed me to Johannesburg. I named my boy Sifo Gift. He deserved life, even born from hate. But Kofi and Adwa, they have blood on their hands. If you read this, child exposed." The sentence ended abruptly. Zola's father was Sifo, Adwa. Mensah had tried to kill him in her womb. Kwame's mother was a monster. The riot? At noon, protesters stormed Quame's office building. Youth activists, housemaids in uniforms, and grandmothers with fury in their eyes broke past security. Glass shattered as rocks flew. Kwame cowered behind his desk, calling Adesua straight to voicemail. Then, a gunshot cracked the air. Protesters scattered as police fired warning shots. In the chaos, a masked figure slipped into Quame's private elevator, face to face with the enemy. Zola returned to the penthouse that night for her mother's medicine money. The rooms felt haunted by discarded designer shoes, Adesia's perfume still hanging in the air. Looking for this, Adesua stepped from the shadows, holding Zola's wire transfer book. Her eyes were redrawn. Quame's in jail. The police found Thandive's diary in his safe. Zola froze. "How did you do?" "I planted it," Adesua smiled coldly. "After you ran, I searched your room, found the floorboard key, and read everything. She stepped closer. I leaked your pregnancy, sent the blackmail note, even hired that SUV to scare you. Zola staggered back. Why? To destroy him, Adesua spat. He took my baby. The miscarriages came after he pushed me down the stairs. But you? She grabbed Zola's chin. You're the perfect weapon. A poor, pregnant maid. The world will crucify him for you. She dropped a plane ticket to Johannesburg on the floor. Leave tonight, or I'll tell the press Kwame raped you. Zola stared at the ticket. Freedom for her child. Silence for Kwame. And the truth about your grandmother. Adisua's voice softened, almost kind. Let it die. Some shadows should never see light. The trap sprung. As Adesua turned to leave, Zola saw it, a tiny pearl earring glinting on Adisua's earlobe, the same one lost under the sofa months ago. Zola understood. Adesua hadn't just found the earring she'd planted. Every step, the blackmail, the leak, the SUV, was her revenge chess game. Kwame would rot in jail, and Adesua would walk away richer, freer. You used me, Zola whispered. We used each other, Adesua corrected. Now choose, your future, or a truth that won't change anything. Footsteps pounded in the hall. Police. Adisua's smile vanished. They're here for you, Zola. I told them you stole my jewelry. Handcuffs clicked. 2 officers filled the doorway. Zola, you're under arrest for theft and extortion. Adesua pocketed the plane ticket. Goodbye, Zola. Some girls never learn. The cell and the camera. In a cold jail cell, Zola touched her belly. Her child kicked a tiny drumbeat of hope. A guard slid a phone through the bars. Call a lawyer. But Zola dialed a different number. A BBC reporter who had messaged her, I believe you. When the reporter answered, Zola took a breath that felt like fire. My name is Zola Ndlovu. Kwame Mensah is my uncle. His father raped my grandmother, and his mother tried to kill my father. I have proof, and I'm live streaming it. She clicked go live on Instagram, holding Thandai's diary to the camera. 4,000 viewers flooded in. Then 40,000. The Mensahs built their fortune on our broken backs. Zola said, tears shining but voice steady. But today, we rebuild ourselves. Who's watching that live stream right now? Kwame from jail. Adesua from her penthouse. And what will Zola reveal about the night in the wrong room? Zola's trembling hands held Thandai's diary to the jail cell phone camera. Over 200,000 people watched. Live as she spoke, her voice clear as broken glass. Kwame Mensah is my uncle. His father, Kofi Mensah, raped my grandmother Thandu. His mother, Adwa, tried to poison her unborn child. They buried this truth for 60 years. But tonight, it lives. Screen recordings exploded across Ghana. In his prison cell, Kwame watched. Tears streaking his face, not for Zola, but for his crumbling empire. Across town, Adesua screamed at her TV, smashing a vase. Zola had stolen her revenge. The grandmother in the shadows. As Zola read Thandai's words. An old woman in a faded blue headscarf stepped into a dusty Johannesburg internet cafe. No longer, Zola's mother had seen the hashtag House of Shadows. She dialed Zola's live stream, her voice crackling through the phone. Yumbi Yam, my daughter. I never told you. Thandai's diary is only half the truth. The world listened as Nomalanga revealed. Kofi Mensah didn't just rape Thandi, he loved her secretly. Ador found out and threatened to kill Thandor's family if she didn't leave. Thandu's last words before she died. Tell Kofi I named our son Sif Gift because love survives hate. Kwame's breath caught. His father had another family, and Kwame had tried to erase them. Adasua's last move. Police sirens wailed toward Adasua's penthouse. She knew it was over, but she wouldn't go quietly. She grabbed Kwame's ivory-handled pistol and drove to Golden Stool Investments. Live cameras caught her storming the lobby, gun raised. Zola and Alovu. She shrieked at a news camera. "You ruined everything." She fired wildly, shattering glass, scattering reporters. Zola was released from jail amid public outcry. As she stepped into the sunlight, microphones surrounded her. Adasua's rage blasted from a live news feed on a reporter's phone. "You deserve what happened to you." A journalist shoved a phone toward Zola. "She has a gun. What's your message to Adasua?" Zola stared into the lens, her hand resting on her unborn child. "Put the gun down, Adasua." Kwame broke us both, but we don't have to break each other. For a heartbeat silence, then a single gunshot echoed through the phone. Adasua had turned the pistol on herself. Epilogue, 2 years later. Sunlight warmed the porch of a small Johannesburg house. Zola's daughter, Thandi, chased butterflies in the garden. On the table lay 2 letters. Pertama, from Kawaami. Manza. Zola, I am sorry. Truly. I've donated my wealth to housemaid unions. Tell little Thandi her name means hope. Uncle Kwame. Kedua, from No Malanga. You gave Thandi a life she dreamed for you. We are free. Zola watched her daughter laugh at the sound like wind chimes and knew the ghosts of the Mensas could finally rest. Share this series with one person who needs to hear Zola's truth break. The silence if you see abuse. Be the voice they don't have.